A 21-year-old from Quezon City just shattered every attendance record in Toronto, and the WTA is completely stunned. From ticket sellouts to Filipino adobo, Alex Eala has turned a WTA 1000 tournament into a cultural phenomenon. More than 10,000 fans packed Sobeys Stadium for her Canadian Open debut. Tickets vanished in 30 minutes, and the noise was so deafening that the tournament director called her an absolute blessing to the sport. But this isn't just a local story. CBC has confirmed that Eala is drawing the biggest crowds of the entire tournament. Is Alex Eala becoming the most popular player in the WTA right now? The phones at the National Bank Open ticket office started ringing the moment Alex Eala's name appeared on the schedule. And within 30 minutes, every single seat was gone. We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect. Tournament director Karl Hale told CBC News, his voice still carrying disbelief. The numbers were staggering. Eala had sold upwards of 5,000 tickets for a match originally scheduled for the 2,800-seat grandstand court. The math was simple. The venue couldn't hold the crowd that was coming. We can't put her on there because she probably sold upwards of 5,000 tickets, Hale said. The decision was unprecedented. Eala's match would be moved to center court at Sobeys Stadium, which holds 10,077 spectators. The sellout was even more remarkable given the context. Hale revealed that Filipino fans had been calling for months, asking the same question over and over. When does she play? Who does she play? Where does she play? When the tournament finally announced her start time, the phones rang, tickets sold, and boom, it was sold out on Wednesday night, just like that. The 30-minute sellout was proof that the Eala effect had arrived in Toronto in full force. According to Tennis Connected, a Wednesday night session in Toronto had only been sold out when Serena Williams played there in the last 20 years. Not Federer, not Djokovic, just Serena, and now Alex Eala. As tournament director Karl Hale put it, Alex is an absolute blessing to the sport of tennis and our tournament. What would you do if you had achieved something that even the big three couldn't? For Alex Eala, the answer was simple. She would stay humble, stay focused, and step onto center court ready to prove that the sellout wasn't about her. It was about a community that finally sees itself on the world's biggest stages. The phones at the National Bank Open ticket office had been ringing for months. The Filipino community in Toronto had one question, and they wouldn't stop asking it. When does she play? Who does she play? Where does she play? Karl Hale, the tournament director for Canada's biggest tennis tournament, had been running WTA events for years. He had seen Grand Slam champions come and go. He had watched the biggest names in the sport compete on his courts. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared him for what happened when Alex Eala's name appeared on the schedule. We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect, Hale told CBC News. A sold-out Wednesday night this early in the tournament is really unheard of. The numbers were staggering. Tickets for Eala's second-round match sold out in 30 minutes, forcing organizers to move her from the 2,800-seat grandstand court to center court, which holds 10,077 spectators. But it wasn't just the ticket sales that stunned Hale. It was the phenomenon itself. All the tournament directors are talking about it. Everybody in the industry is talking about it, Hale said. Hale had been tracking the Eala effect since earlier in the year. He noticed the phenomenon at the Qatar Open in Doha, where Eala lost in the first round but still drew massive crowds. Then Jason Maglante, Tennis Canada's head of ticketing who is Filipino, told Hale he'd been hearing from members of the Filipino diaspora in Toronto who were following Eala's every move. When she was confirmed as a direct entry into the Canadian Open, the phone started ringing. They were so excited to have her, Hale said. The sellout was even more remarkable given the context. Eala was playing the evening session alongside local favorite Leylah Fernandez, a Canadian star on home soil. Yet, it was Eala who generated the frenzy. Hale admitted that he had never seen anything like it in his years of running one of the oldest WTA 1000 tournaments in the world. When asked whether Eala might be too fatigued to compete in Toronto, just days after winning the DC Open, Hale was not worried for a second. We were in touch with her the whole time, he said. She has been incredibly loyal to her fan base. There's no way she's going to let them down here. What would you do if a tournament director called you an absolute blessing to the sport of tennis? For Alex Eala, the answer was simple. She would keep fighting, keep inspiring, and keep proving that the girl with ruffled socks and light-up shoes had earned every single fan who packed those stadiums. Because when Karl Hale says he's never seen anything like it, you know you've truly arrived. The Canadian Open has been a WTA event for years, a fixture on the tennis calendar. But this year, the tournament is unlike anything anyone has ever seen, and it's all because of one 21-year-old from Quezon City. Eala Mania has officially transformed Toronto from the moment she stepped onto center court. Philippine flags hung from the railings and Filipino families filled the stands, all 10,077 seats of them. The chants of, "Let's go, Alex!" echoed so loudly that the chair umpire repeatedly begged for silence during points. But the most surprising transformation wasn't just the crowd, it was the food. The changeover kitchen food stall replaced its chicken teriyaki rice bowl with chicken adobo, a classic Filipino dish. As a tribute to Eala and her supporters, tournament director Karl Hale confirmed it was something unprecedented. "It's the first time I've ever heard of a tournament halfway through the tournament add a food offering just because of a player," he said. But it wasn't just about the adobo. Eala herself played a starring role. After her match against Alicia Parks, she grabbed the microphone and addressed the crowd in Tagalog. "Kamusta tayo ngayon, Toronto? Iwagayway niyo nga yung mga bandila niyo at patingin." The crowd erupted. Hundreds of Philippine flags waved in response. "There are so many Filipinos in the crowd tonight. So many flags." "Thank you," she added. One Filipino from Toronto even designed custom white t-shirts for his friends reading "Rise, Believe, Inspire" alongside Eala's name. For Eala, the support was deeply personal. She told the crowd in Filipino, "I see you guys every week supporting me. I also see it every week how you love your fellow Filipinos. That's why I'm so incredibly proud to be a Filipino. Thank you, my fellow Filipinos. I love you all." What happened in Toronto wasn't just about tennis. It was about community. It was about a nation showing up for one of its own. And it was about a young athlete who knew exactly what it meant to carry that love with her on the court. That connection, that celebration, is something no tournament director could have planned for, and no one can forget. The Toronto skyline was already familiar to the thousands of Filipinos who called the city home. But what happened at Sobeys Stadium changed the way Canada's largest city saw itself, and it all started with one name. Alex Eala, the Greater Toronto Area, is home to one of the world's largest Filipino communities, with over 300,000 individuals of Filipino descent. When Eala arrived in Toronto for the Canadian Open, she wasn't just another player. She was a gathering point for a diaspora that had been waiting for this moment. "The only thing I know of with this kind of hype among Filipinos in the sports realm would be the boxer Manny Pacquiao," said Jason Maglante, Tennis Canada's Senior Director of Ticket Sales and Services. He projected that 8 out of every 10 fans in the stadium for Eala's matches could be of Filipino heritage. The numbers backed him up. Tickets sold out in 30 minutes. The match was moved from a 2,800-seat court to the 10,077-seat center court. And the noise was so overwhelming that the chair umpire repeatedly begged for silence during points. But the phenomenon wasn't just about filling seats. It was about community. Warren Paul Catacutan, a Filipino from Toronto, designed custom white t-shirts for his friends featuring Alex Eala and the words "Rise, Believe, Inspire." Many Filipino fans attending the match hadn't been to a tennis tournament before. They were discovering the sport because of her. "It's nice to see that the Filipino community is really showing up," Eala said before her match. "And they're enjoying tennis, and hopefully, it will help grow the sport as well." The scene at Sobeys Stadium was unlike anything Toronto had ever seen. Philippine flags draped every section, turning the tennis venue into what felt like a homecoming. Families packed the stands, many attending their first ever tennis tournament. The chants of "Eala, Eala," echoed so loudly that the tournament director called her an absolute blessing to the sport. What would you do if thousands of people showed up just because they believed in you? For Alex Eala, the answer was simple. She would give them everything she had. Because she knew that her victory wasn't just hers. It belonged to every Filipino who had ever believed in her. And as she walked off center court, the message was clear. The diaspora had arrived. The numbers are in. The records have been broken. And tournament director Karl Hale has delivered a verdict that captures exactly what Alex Eala has achieved in Toronto. Alex is an absolute blessing to the sport of tennis at our tournament. Those words from Hale, speaking to ABS-CBN News after Ala's sold-out center court debut, sum up a phenomenon that has left the WTA speechless. More than 10,000 fans packed Sobeys Stadium. Tickets vanished in 30 minutes. And the tournament that had already hosted 72 of the top 75 players in the world found itself completely transformed by one 21-year-old from Quezon City. We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect, Hale told CBC News. A sold-out Wednesday night this early in the tournament is really unheard of. But Hale's assessment went deeper than ticket sales. He revealed that organizers had been tracking the Eala effect since earlier in the year. At the Qatar Open in Doha, he noticed that even when she lost in the first round, the crowd support was extraordinary. Then Tennis Canada's head of ticketing, who is Filipino, told Hale he'd been hearing from members of the Filipino diaspora in Toronto who were following Eala's every move. When she was confirmed as a direct entry into the Canadian Open, the phones started ringing. They were so excited to have her, Hale said. The tournament added Filipino chicken adobo to the menu, a first in tournament history. The sold-out atmosphere at center court turned the tournament into what fans called Little Manila. And Hale wasn't the only one taking notice. Fellow Filipina Canadian star Leila Fernandez, who also shares Filipino heritage through her mother, praised the community's support. The Filipino community are super proud, she said. They're proud of anybody who comes from the country, who are part Filipino. The fan base is super amazing, loving. I'm just super happy that we get to experience that here in Toronto, where the stands are going to be filled. For Eala, the support is both overwhelming and humbling. It's the pleasure of my life to experience crowds like this, she said after her victory over Parks. What would you do if you had transformed a WTA 1000 tournament into a cultural phenomenon? For Alex Eala, the answer was simple. She would keep fighting, keep inspiring, and keep proving that the girl with ruffled socks and light-up shoes had earned every single fan who packed those 10,077 seats. Because when tournament directors call you an absolute blessing, you know you've truly arrived.